Okay,
Hey.
hi.
Hello.
Paranormal Pixies here. I'm Blade.
I'm Rhonda.
And this is Coco, who wants to kiss a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Love, love, love.
And my hair is still wet because it is that freaking humid outside.
I don't know what mine looks like. I've been swimming for 5 hours. I've been there since 9:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock.
Woo.
With hour break in between at 12 for lunch.
That's crazy.
So I went through 3 levels of swim lessons with kids. I'm sore.
Yeah, I washed my hair literally 2 hours ago. And it's still wet because it's that ridiculously humid out.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
So we were going to talk about fairies again.
Yep. And I'm not going to sit here and read a bunch of stuff because we decided that was boring.
Yes. And we, I know that our one friend who's a spiritual advisor for me likes your eyes and wants to see them.
Okay.
So yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to talk about, since you wanted to continue on with fairies, was
Victorian.
that
You said Victorian
well,
stuff.
I want to go kind of a couple of things from the previous that we didn't mention.
Okay.
My understanding of the Fae is that they're mischievous, but in a kind of negative way. You have to be very careful of them.
Yeah.
You have to tread lightly. And depending on where you are, they get highly offended. Like if they have, like the troop Fae, if they have a path, they don't want you around that path.
Right.
Don't cross it. Don't spy on them because they will come after you. Nasty little teeth. Have you ever seen that movie, The Trilogy of Terror?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. The one with Karen Black and the little statue thingy that she gets. I mean, it's...
No, I would remember that one.
Oh my God. Imagine most of the Fae being like that.
Okay.
Seelie or unseelie, it doesn't matter.
That reminds me of that old movie From Hell It Came. Remember about the chief that died and came back as the killer tree?
Oh, yes. Yes. But be careful when you're dealing with the Fae. Seelie or unseelie. Because they tend to wreak havoc.
Yeah.
Things like we talked about brownies, and obviously I don't have any brownies in my house because I have a border collie. A border collie, by the way, blows coat. If you don't know what that means, they shed 24/7. It doesn't matter what the season is. They will blow coat all the time. And I brush the dog, and I vacuum, and yet I can still come up with, a whole new border collie within a day. So it gets kind of hairy in this house.
Yeah.
And I try to keep up with it. Sometimes it gets a little ahead of me.
Yeah.
So,
that's like me with the cats.
Right.
All the cats in the house, and how do they have any hair on them?
I know.
It's like they shed everywhere, and you're just like, how do you still have hair on you?
I'm telling you, man. But brownies, like the old shoemaker fable, you do not talk about them. You do not interrupt them, or else things go bad.
Yeah.
And they're the good. They're the seelie. So, and the unseelie are the ones that, you just don't want to even deal with. Those are like the red caps, where they dip their hats in the blood of whoever, enemies and stuff like that. Changelings. We didn't go over changelings.
That's right.
What I understand changelings to be is that there are certain Fae. It isn't necessarily elves in the Tolkienish sense. Okay, because there's like Santa's elves. We are Santa's elves. Doing Santa shows. Happy, hee hee ho ho, wheelie ears, wheelie nose. The tall Tolkienish.
Excuse you.
Your day is not complete until you get a belch from Coco.
No, of course.
Anyway, it's not those. These are the dark Fae. And
He's trying to sit on both of us at
at
the same
time, right? And lick and pet and get pet and all this.
The tail going.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the dark fae tend to take them, and in the place of the baby, they will put one of their own.
Right.
But when they take the human baby, what happens is that from legend that I have learned is they use these individuals as they grow up as servants, as slaves. It is not a happy life.
Yeah.
They dig in mines.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the fae tend to get their rough labor. It is through stealing human babies and putting a fae baby in its place. Because apparently human milk is better than fae milk. I don't know.
Yeah.
And usually this is a child that will bite the mother and cause all sorts of, problems.
Yeah. That explains a lot about my brother.
Well, changeling. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, talking about the elves. Actually, our word elf comes from Ulf.
Yeah.
Which is the Germanic term. So you have the light elves and you have the dark elves. So any of you who have seen Thor, the second movie, you'll know about the dark elves. Okay? They are a Norse from the Norse mythology. Alfheim is the world that they live in. There's 9 worlds in Norse mythology, and one of those is Alfheim. 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 And this is where we actually get the term elf. So, and of course the light elves tend to be very helpful and very celestially looking, they sparkle, whatever. Think of, I don't know, those stupid vampires from that one book. They glitter.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the dark elves, which can either be trollish or I've heard things like drow.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, going to be more of the Scandinavian and Celtic derivative of a dark elf.
Right.
So this is where you get that.
But or if you read R.A. Salvatore, who wrote about Drizzt, who's a dark elf.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a very cool character.
Haven't read it. Anyway, so you do have the two. Those light elves tend to be more, well, they work with the Aesir, which tend to be more elf-like to begin with. So like Frey and Freya.
Yeah.
Rather than, the Vanir. The Vanir are Freya and Freya. So they work more with them, and the Aesir are more of the Thor and Odin. And, well, Loki is, of course, half frost giant, so these days we have to talk about that mythology group because he is quite a character.
Okay.
A lot of stuff happens because of Loki. So anyway, but we were going to talk today some more about elves or the Fae. Fairy particularly, and you wanted to talk about the Victorian fairy, which is my opinion that where we get a lot of what we really nowadays think of as the fairies comes from the Victorian era.
Right.
So
I thought you were going to talk about it.
Oh!
That's why I didn't bring anything with me.
Anyway, a lot of what happened during the Victorian ages is there started to become a mysticism. So you get a lot of the, like the Theosophical Society,
The
spiritualists. And so part of this became kind of like, well, let's look at nature spirits as well. And so people like Lewis Carroll did supposed photographs. Now these to me are the same kind of photographs that you have with the ectoplasm photographs. There's been a little manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lot of manipulation.
Yeah. And
Um,
I mean, for when they were done, I mean,
They were well done
it was
photographs.
well done. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because there was no Photoshop back
No,
then.
no, there wasn't any Photoshop,
No.
but there's supposedly these photographs of Lewis with his nieces or his grandchildren. It was his nieces.
I think it was his nieces.
And
Yeah.
in his garden, and fairies would come around all the time, and they took pictures of it.
Yeah, it's the Cottingley fairies.
Yes, yes. So these are the ones with the little tiny people in their little tiny flower dresses, with their little tiny flower hats,
Mm-hmm.
and their pretty little wings, and they're hopping and skipping and playing. So this is pretty much where you get this type of what has persisted now as being what the fairy realm looks like.
Yeah.
You get a lot of lithographs at that time
Mm-hmm.
where they show them prancing and prancing around again in the little fairy hats with their little bluebell hats.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also where you get that they are not. They're not harmful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a persistent. It's pervasive.
Yeah.
Belief now. When it comes to the Victorian fairy, it really rooted itself into the culture, the Western culture, across the board.
Yeah.
So, and of course, coming over here, it's same thing. Let's go build a fairy garden. You know, I want fairies in my yard. I want to build a fairy, garden with butterfly bushes and hummingbirds, this and,
Which
and,
is perfectly fine.
Right.
If you know what you're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've dealt with the fae.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have fae all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to leave something out for them every night in my garden.
I made a deal with them, so that's why I have a lot of fairy statues in my living room. There's a lot of them. Well, it's actually the dining room.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. And I literally go out, and if I have the opportunity and the money, I will go out and I will buy something that has a fairy in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an honoring them.
Right.
Otherwise, my house would be worse off than it is.
Yeah. Well, you've seen all the fairies I have in my house, too.
So
lots of them. I have one tattooed on me.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like the devil's advocate kind of deal.
Yeah.
You got to be careful when you're dealing with them because, like I said, Seelie or unseelie, they are an alien entity to us.
Right.
We are not related, and therefore they owe us nothing.
Right.
And that's how they see it.
Mm-hmm.
They owe us nothing.
Right.
And in some cases, depending on which fae you're dealing with, we are no more than cattle.
Yeah.
So, and that's why they do the changeling thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, just know, when you're dealing with the fae, you have to be very, very careful. And, like, I had a feral fae in my backyard. And this was a very, I didn't like the essence that it gave off. It followed me home.
From where?
Actually, because of my bargain, I was going through a very odd time, and it kind of latched on as a protection. So that other dark things that would come around would think twice. So, but it's not a friendly thing. It's there, but anytime I'm around it, I get the heebie-jeebies.
Huh.
And for me to get the heebie-jeebies is a lot.
Yeah, that takes a lot.
I am almost the same color as my wall back there. I go,
Oh yeah, you are.
I am. Look at it.
Not in real life. Just it looks
In
that
this.
way on.
Yeah. I go swimming a lot. The job I have, I was in the pool for 5 hours with that 1 hour
you could
break.
Just like stand there and blend. You know?
Yeah, I could do. All you'd have to do
Walt
is take
has
the glasses.
eyes.
So, but yeah, you got to be really careful when it comes to the Fae
Mhm.
and dealing with that. So this whole, and I've noticed this a lot, even the stuff that you were pulling off the internet tends to be far more friendly.
Yeah, well, the stuff that I printed out there was stuff about the unseelie as well.
Well, yeah, because what I was noticing, even, oh, they're kind of mischievous. No, they're very mischievous.
Yeah.
And they can wreck your house. It's just one of those things where when you're dealing with another being from another realm, another dimension,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be very careful because, like I said, they do not see us as equals.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. I actually, and this is something I could talk about later, I have a book by a gentleman named Montague Somers. Have you ever heard of Montague Somers?
No.
He wrote a lot about witchcraft, demonology, and other popular things that were coming up during the spiritualist movement.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book that I had picked up, not thinking about what it was. It was called Demonality. And I read it, and what it was demons are fallen angels.
Okay.
They're saying that some demons have sex with humans. That would be the equivalent of human having sex with an animal.
Yeah.
That's what this whole book was about.
Okay.
And how these demons and angels couldn't be doing that because it would be lowering themselves.
Okay.
But yeah, I have that book somewhere floating in the behind us. So, but yeah, alien, totally alien to us, and not our friends particularly. So when I see and read these things, having one dealt with, not only personally, but also having a background in the legend and lore of it.
Mm-hmm.
When I see people doing this, to me, it's the equivalent of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Wikipedia, forgive me, but let's face it, you are not a source. I could write. Anybody can go in and change stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can add stuff. And it doesn't have to be factual on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I mean, so...
The phone is moving.
Is it moving? Moving.
Well, because it's like, I'm watching the ceiling get bigger.
Oh.
And I'm like, couldn't you see like more of us when we started?
It's very pushy.
Just don't push it in the floor.
But, yeah, so to me, we get a lot of this almost Wikipedian quality out there of information.
Yeah.
That I, as a scholar, because that's really what I'm, you know, when it comes to this stuff, my background in anthropology and mythology and comparative religions, seeing this stuff, I mean, it disappoints me.
Yeah.
Because people read this thinking, oh, it's okay. And then, you know, it's like that post I did yesterday. I tried to hug my inner child and the little ass bit me. You know?
I missed that post. How did I miss that one?
You know? My inner child is the equivalent of the fairies. They'll bite you.
Okay.
So it's not all airy fairy unicorn farts and rainbows.
Darn it.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
It really isn't. And people need to be careful when dealing with certain aspects of the supernatural, of the paranormal, of the magic realms.
Right.
They really, really do.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you get this out there, and it's like, oh, nothing to worry about. Ghosts can't hurt you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Not that I know of. Seen some damage. Experienced some damage.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta woohoo on your rear end there. But always be careful when dealing with anything that is not, how can I put it in a way that's understandable? I want to say mid-world.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has ever dealt with any magic, any mythology, any legends, there's mid-world, Midgard, mid-realm, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Where we live,
Right.
our everyday light bulb computer, start your car with a button.
Yeah. That's a whole other story.
That's a nice one. But everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not everyday life stuff, be very careful. That's, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah, did I tell you about my mom?
no.
And it's talking about reading stuff on the internet. My mom and I are big fans of Johnny Mathis.
Okay.
And I had one of his Christmas albums that I took over